till 3:15, so we got 30 minutes. So I think we can do it. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is I want to pull in the mid-arm twist joint. And so if you take a look, I got an example sitting right here for you, so if you want to break that open, you can look at that. I've also brought up or uploaded a really basic IK-FK switch example, so if you want to break that out and look at that, you can look at that. I specifically did not put the shoulder joints back on top of each other, so it's still pulling like a little bit of a general grievous. Just remember, we got to put those shoulders back on top, okay? All right, also included this. So this is, say hello to the node editor. This is essentially our, this is our ingredients list, okay? This probably looks familiar to anyone that's been in SLR. You guys seen the Hypershade? It's basically the Hypershade, but with a few extra things. Okay, you guys ready? All right, so what I want to do is I want to go and make sure, I'm going to do this on the skinning. And so I'm going to go and grab a insert joint tool, and that's going to be under skeleton. And I'm just going to go ahead and just click and drag and pull a joint from the elbow down about halfway to the wrist. Okay? Let's pop this guy right back up. Okay? So, actually, I'm going to need to grab some other joints. So let me pull that. All right, so I'm going to go under Windows Node Editor. Let's clear the table, and I want to go ahead and grab my two wrist joints, not the IK handle, but the wrist joint. So that's going to be my IK and FK wrist joints. I'm going to bring them in, and let's do. So I'm going to hit this little button to add them in. This little button right here with the little plus. If you bring something in you didn't mean to, you can click on the little minus, says remove selected nodes. I'm going to go ahead and grab my switch. I'm going to add that in. I don't need the curve shape, so that I can just go move somewhere else. I just need the IK-FK switch. And I need I'm going to hit tab and type in condition. So this is going to be like an if and statement or if or statement. This is going to allow me to kind of set up, basically if something's true or false, like if this works or if this is true, do this. If it's not, do something else. Okay, so I'm going to use this. And then I'm going to do a multiply divide node. And that's going to allow me to change the math on this. And then I need, what am I missing? Switch, two joints, condition, multiply divide. Did I get the roll? Let's see. I guess the roll joint would be useful. Let's go and name this one. So I'm going to call that left mid-arm roll joint. And we'll add that to here too. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the switch. That switch is going to be connected to the condition, and that's going to be plugged into this first term right here. Okay? Jesus, I got this recording, so you don't have to worry. Okay. Okay, so let's do switch, open up the condition, open this up. This little green thing right here, that's the IK-FK switch attribute we added. And since that's like set from like 0 to 1, basically it's 0 is false, 1 is true. So I'm gonna go to first term right here. And then next thing we need is we're gonna take the IK wrist and the FK wrist. Both of those, we're gonna be connecting the rotate X is gonna go into color if true or if false, if true. Both of those are gonna go on the same channel. So I'm putting them on the red. It could be the green, could be the blue, but it just needs to stay consistent throughout this whole system. So you know how this is going in on the red, it's going out on the red. We just need to make sure it all stays the same. So make it easy, just go in on the red. And that's gonna be rotate X. But we do need to make sure that that's actually gonna be the rotational axis. So that is true, because I see that little red line coming out, that's our X axis. So when that turns, that's gonna be the one we want to do it on. Okay. So we'll plug that open, pop that open. Nope, don't do that. Okay. Okay, so rotate X. I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna go to color if false R. Drop that right there. And then rotate X right here. So this little button. I'm gonna go in and go over to color if true R. Okay. So what we're doing is we're creating this kind of logic path. So we're saying that if my IK-FK switch is set to 0, it's going to make the IK wrist joint have a say in how that mid-arm joint rotates, okay? But then when we switch, when that changes from a true to a false statement, it's gonna say, hey, I'm gonna put the other system's wrist joint and make that tell the mid-arm joint, the twist joint, how to rotate, okay? It's kind of weird. Like it's a little odd. Like I think it's more like a programmer side of things. All right. So what's going to happen is we're going to go and take that out color R. This one right here. That's going to go into, now I have 2 multiply divides. Ignore that. We only have 1 roll joint. The one I was working with yesterday, I put 2 roll joints in, and because depending on your arm, you may want a couple, maybe 2, 3, 4 roll joints. Don't worry about that. We're only doing 1, okay? So just ignore all of this. We're gonna take that multiply divide, that out color R. Again, same channel we went into here. That's gonna go into input X, input 1X right here. So input 1X is right here, out color R, that's gonna hit right there, okay? Now this, the output is gonna be output X to rotate X. All right, you guys with me? Okay, get that out of there. Don't be distracting. Okay, so that's essentially what we're working with. Now, one thing we need to do is under the multiply divide, what I want is a decreasing rotational value, okay? So in the same way that like my wrist may rotate 90 degrees, the skin around my wrist rotates 90 degrees. The skin around the mid part of my arm does not rotate 90 degrees because my elbow is not rotating, okay? It's rotating, let's just say 45 degrees. So that is half, right? So if I want to get half the value of something, what can I multiply it by to get a half value? What? Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the multiply divide. And so you'll have input 1, input 2. And I'll say 0.5 is going to be the output. So right now it's got an input of like -5. It's going to multiply it by 0.5. And so half of that's going to be like -2.5. Something like that. Okay, so let's test this out. So I may actually have like the order of like the true and false statement incorrect, so I want to make sure I get it right. And it's if you don't have it, if it's not working for you, we can flip them back and forth. Okay, so what I'm going to look for is I want to see if this rotates. Yeah, that's right. Okay, I got it right. Okay, so what I want to see is if I rotate this thing, let's say 40 degrees, that's rotating 20 degrees. All right, so devil's advocate, let's say we mixed it up. We're, Q, oh God, what the heck, how do I fix this? I don't know how to do this. This is insane. How do I fix this? Pretty easy. The only thing we messed up was the true and the false. You can just literally take this, pop it in the false, take this X, pop it in the true, and just switch them. Okay? So if it's not rotating for the correct joint, just switch those two values. And that's it. Now, if it's not the x-axis, if for whatever reason it's rotating a different axis, then let's say we need to figure out what axis that's going to be. So maybe that divide, the mid joint right here, maybe it doesn't rotate on the x to get that same change. Maybe it's a y, maybe it's a z. So maybe I take that output x and I change it from rotate x to rotate y, or rotate x to rotate z. So if you're having an issue where it's not doing the right thing, if it's not rotating on the right axis, then take it out, try a different axis, and test it. Okay? Questions on this? Daniel's asleep? He's asleep. I'm sure he will have a question. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and set this back up. All right. Save my file. Let's go ahead and organize our scene a little bit. So the FK, let's see, where are we going to put this stuff? So the FK controller is already underneath the spine control, right? Nope, clavcon. Okay, so clavcon, I'm going to take that. That's going to go under that top spine con. So that's going to go up into there. So the FKs all go under that spine system. IK wrist con. So your left and right IK wrist cons, I would group those together into just say IK wrist con group. And this is going to be similar to like the feet. We don't want the feet to follow the root, right? We want them to be free. Same idea. We're not necessarily wanting the wrist IK controls to follow, the root or the upper spine or whatever. Now, there are reasons why it would. I've worked with plenty of rigs where we do have a system where we can switch back and forth on who we want it to follow. But for the sake of this assignment, we're just going to follow what we did with the feet. I'm going to pop them under the placement controller. Okay, so they're going to be underneath there. All right, left IK, elbow con. Nope, don't want to do that. Okay, I'm gonna put that under the IK wrist con group so that can live underneath there. So those are in there. What else we got? Let's go and collapse that, collapse the joints, ribbons. Okay, the IK handles, we'll group them together. IK wrist handles group. All right, so we're getting a couple of extra groups that don't really have a super big use. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on the ribbon spine group and the IK wrist handles group. I'm just gonna put them together. And I'm gonna make a miscellaneous group. So right here. And we'll just pop that under the, let's see, con group right here. Okay. And then your finger control group, that was parented. So I'm going to put that under the controller group as well. So let's test it a little bit. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And then as soon as I start rotating this, yeah, that should be independent. Okay. And then this should be able to tug on it right there. Okay. So I think that's it. What do you guys think? Any questions?